This episode is sponsored by the AnimeCons.com store. Hey, that's us!
Hi, I'm Shiva, and in this episode, Patrick runs down the list of the 10 largest North American anime cons of 2009. We sit down with voice actor and anime fanboy Bill Rogers. Doug gives us help with prop weapons at AnimeCons. And the latest news and convention listings. It's January 2010. Here comes Season 2 of the AnimeCons.com podcast.
Hi, I'm Patrick Delahanty, the founder of AnimeCons.com and senior editor, and I'm here with the annual list of the 10 largest anime conventions in North America. For 2009, we'll start off the list with number 10, which is once again Anime Week in Atlanta. They had 11,717 paid attendees. At number 9, we have FanimeCon with an estimated 14,000 paid attendance and 15,000 total attendance. They were number 5 last year, so they've dropped a bit. And for number 8, up in Canada, we have Anime North with 14,800 estimated paid attendance. At number 7, once again, Anime Boston with 15,438 paid attendees. They had a slight increase over last year, and that's partly due to the issues they had in 2008 with registration issues. So we're thinking maybe people didn't go back. But they were solved this year, so we might see a bigger increase next year. At number 6, we've got A&G in Texas. They had 16,037 people total. Now, A&G has been around since 1990, and they've had fairly steady but slow growth. So a lot of these other conventions are passing them. Last year, they were number 4 on the list. Then moving up to number 5, we have Sakura-Con with 16,586 people total. Now, they did send out a press release earlier this year claiming to be the 3rd largest convention of their kind, and I'm not sure exactly what of their kind means, but on our list they're number 5 for 2009. Number 4 is Anime Central. They had 17,249 people total, and 15,463 of them were paid attendees. Now, they had the largest growth of 2009. Last year, they're number 8 on the list, and they've went up 3,349 people, and now they're at number 4, so that's pretty good growth. At number 3, once again, is New York Anime Festival with 21,388 people total. Now, next year, they're combining with New York Comic Con, and they won't be on the list. We don't list non-anime conventions or combination conventions. That's why you don't see Dragon Con or San Diego Comic Con and the fan expos up in Canada. That's why they're not on the list. We stick to just the anime conventions, or predominantly anime. And number 2 on the list was Otakon once again with 26,350 paid attendees. They were up only 88 people over last year. They've had pretty slow growth over the last 5 years. They passed 20,000 back in 2004, so they're going up about 1,000 or so a year. And number 1, the largest anime convention in North America, once again, is Anime Expo, with 44,000 estimated people total. They seem to have reached a plateau. They passed 40,000 back in 2006, so over the last 3 years, they've added around 1,000 people a year. And so that they had some rapid growth, but it's kind of leveled off now. Now, next year, as I mentioned, New York Anime Festival won't be on the list. So cons we might see, we may see Anime Next as number 10 on the list next year. They haven't released numbers for 2009, so I don't know where they ranked this year. They may be number 11 or they may not. It's hard to tell without the numbers. Another contender is OhioCon. They have numbers in the same range, and they may take up that 10 spot. Now, I encourage all conventions, no matter what the size, to submit their attendance numbers to AnimeCons.com. You can go to that year's convention and submit the attendance update, and we'll post it on the site. And for all the attendees out there, I want to remind you that bigger is not necessarily better. I've been to plenty of small conventions and had a great time, and they're a lot of fun. And so if there's one near you, I strongly encourage you to check out the smaller conventions. Bigger isn't always better.
Here are the latest announcements from anime conventions across the United States. Up in the Northeast, Castle Point Anime Convention has announced guest voice actors Michelle Knotts and Bill Rogers, I call them the dynamic duo, as well as comedian Uncle Yo. The convention will be held on April 11th in Hoboken, New Jersey. In the South, MomoCon 2010 will feature guest Extraordinary Contraption, Alethea Burns, Anna Aesthetics, Bill Winans, Harrison Cricks, Serafina, Matt Simpsons, and Bob Pendarvis. The convention will have an attendance cap of 7,000 and take place this March in Atlanta, Georgia. For our friends in the Midwest, some questions were raised about the future of QC Anime-zing after 2 of the executive staff members resigned from the convention and support was not confirmed from Mindbridge Foundation, the original organization stated as backing the event. Fortunately for anime fans, the staff of QC Anime-zing has voted to continue planning the convention without assistance from Mindbridge Foundation. The convention remains scheduled for June 18th through the 20th, 2010 in Bettendorf, Iowa. Kawa Kon 2010 in St. Louis, Missouri has announced a fan fiction contest, their first anime music video contest, and a Vampire Night themed costume ball presented by the Silver Aura of Dawn Cosplay Group. The convention takes place March 12th through the 14th. Voice actor Troy Baker will be appearing at A&G Ohio this March in Cincinnati, Ohio. Also, AnimeCons.com is giving one lucky person a free admission to the convention. Watch the rest of this episode for more details on this contest. Finally, in the West, Las Cruces Anime Day, run by the El Paso Anime Coalition, EPAC, has announced that voice actress Monica Riel will be attending as guest of honor. The convention will be held on January 30th in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Animé Los Angeles has announced that Funimation will present an advanced screening of Rin, Daughters of Nemosine, at the convention. Animé Los Angeles runs from January 8th through the 10th, 2010 in Los Angeles, California. For additional details about any of these announcements, please visit AnimeCons.com.
Not long ago, I sat down with Bill Rogers. You may know him as the 4-time Boston Marathon winner and New York Marathon. What? Oh, the other Bill Rogers. Right. I sat down with Bill Rogers, voice actor. You may know him as appearing in Assemble Insert, K.O. Beast, His and Her Circumstances, Comic Party, Two Heart. He's best known for his work in Gravitation as Toma, Boogie Pop Phantom as Yamamoto, Genshiken, Shingu, and more recently in The Third as Kevin. And he can also be heard on Saturday mornings as the voice of Brock in Pokemon. He's also a number of other Pokemon in that show, and outside of anime, you may have heard him in Super Smash Brothers. He's also done some work in Eminem's game and Xbox game Bullet Witch. So here's Bill Rogers. So, what was the first convention you attended?
Oh Christ, you know, it's there you go, right off the bat. All right, cut. Man, he's swearing, he's using the Lord's name in vain. The first convention that I ever went to actually was an Icon convention back when I was a high school kid. I'm not going to say my age because I'm not going to date myself like that, but I've been an anime fan for a very long time, and I'm older than most of fandom, probably by twice, because you know they're all like little 15, 16-year-old kids. But when I was in high school, nobody knew really what anime was. I can give you a general date range by saying I was in the Robotech generation. It was when all the other kids were watching Transformers and G.I. Joe, and I was too. I loved all those shows, but I watched Robotech and I was like, wow, this is really good. And then like after the show had been long over, somebody said to me, oh, that was Japanese anime, and like gave me a copy of the Macross movie. So I had friends who were like big into sci-fi, but nobody who really knew anything about the anime stuff. So a group of us, when we were in high school, went over to the Icon convention every year. And there was a little bit of anime there, but it was mostly just science fiction, fantasy, role-playing, you know. They had, you know, like Gary Gygax was always like a guest there, and they'd have like, you know, somebody from Star Trek, and then every once in a while they'd have like a room where they'd be like, we're going to show Vampire Hunter D, or, you know, something like that. And so that was my first convention, but from there I went off and went to, I was at the first Otakon, I don't know if it was at the first Katsucon and NekoCon, but I was at a lot of the earlier ones of those. We used to all hop into like a van and drive down to like Virginia and, you know, cram as many people as we could into a hotel room. So we were all poor college kids at the time. And just to go and hang out and watch anime and see all the cool stuff that was going on.
And so your first convention as a guest came much later.
Much later, and actually the beautiful thing about that was, I don't know if we'll preface this by shows that I've worked on, but one of the shows that I've talked about a lot is Genshiken, which is about anime fans. It's an anime about anime fans. And when I was in college, I actually didn't go to Stony Brook, which is where the Icon conventions are, but I had friends from Stony Brook. And they had an anime club, and I used to always hang out with those people. And it's funny because the Cheng brothers, Clark and Eugene, were friends of mine when we were in college, and Eugene went off to start Anime Next, and Clark had worked for Software Sculptors for a while, then he worked for Bang Zoom, and now he works with Media Blasters. He bounced his way around the industry, but when Eugene started Anime Next, he had invited me as a guest for that first convention, and that was around the time where I really wasn't doing a lot of stuff. And on top of that, I don't remember which came first, it's the chicken or the egg kind of thing, because around that same year, Icon had me as a guest because they had started to develop an anime track, and Anime Next was also like a fresh convention, and they both were like, I at that point had done like a symbol insert in Boogie Pop Phantom, which a lot of people really didn't know about either show, but they were like, you're a voice actor, please come to our convention. So I did those, and then what happened was as time went along, after I did Toma Seguchi and Gravitation, conventions were like, oh, because the fangirl contingent is just like, oh my god, it's Gravitation! So I started getting invited to more cons from there, and then when I got involved in Pokemon, it was just, you know, that really opened the doors, because I think one year, the year I started doing Pokemon, which was back in 2006, 4 years ago, when I started doing it, I think that first year, I was probably at like a dozen conventions that year, and I was at the point where I used to just do like 2 or 3 a year. But yeah, I started going a lot more conventions when that happened.
Now, obviously with going to the first Otakon, it's a lot larger now than it was back in
when it was in Penn State?
Yeah. And, but other than the size, how has the fandom at conventions changed? Like if you compared a convention of that size to one of that size today, how would they be?
Well, conventions in general, their attendance has gotten different. I've lived through the years of where we were all kind of like, you know, college age or older, and you had people in 20s and 30s and sometimes up to their 40s that were like, you know, well, I love Battle of the Planets and Star Blazers and, you know, Gundam and stuff like that, and all these older shows. And I remember that, like, I know that seeing over the years that it went from these people who were, you know, 20s, 30s, and 40s guys mainly. It was like, you know, I would say it was like 90% male at the beginning of the convention runs. And then it started to become an even male-female mix, and then they also started to get younger and younger. And not because I was getting older, but actually because a lot of them are high school kids and junior high, and you see kids that are like 12 and 13 running around with Naruto outfits, and I'm like, this would have never happened back, you know, in the day, because it was the cons, the anime cons were an offshoot of the sci-fi conventions, so it was all these, you know, grizzled old Star Trek fans that, you know, also were into anime. Whereas now it's just kids anybody can get. It started with, you know, Suncoast and Hot Topic, and now it's everywhere. You know, I mean, anime is just, you can find it everywhere, and it's on TV all the time. So our audience is greatly varied and changed.
All right. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
The AnimeCons.com store is having a clearance sale. It's crazy. We've got I'd Rather Be Cosplaying ladies tees. They were a little small, so order a size up. We've got Chibi Project t-shirts, as I wear in the Chibi Project podcast from time to time. And also Chibi Project DVDs with the first 8 episodes. And a bunch of extras. So check that out. And Seraphic t-shirts. These are only available in XL now. Now the shirts are normally $14, but they're on sale now for $9.99. And the DVD was $10, but it's now on sale for just $5.99. And once these are sold out, they're gone forever. We're not going to be reproducing the same designs, so get them while you can. And we'll think about some new designs if we sell out of these, and we have room for more. Now, for more information or to place your order, visit us at animecons.com/store.
Now it's time for Q&A. Kevin writes, "Hi, my daughter is very much into anime. She's planning to go to Anime Boston in the spring. She asked me to make a rifle of an anime characters. It looks like an assault rifle. She gave me a picture of the actual cartoon one. Can she bring this with her? Please let me know if I need to do anything." Well, props and weapons for costumes is a very big subject in the world of anime conventions, and here to help us is Doug. Doug has staffed several anime conventions, including doing security, which usually handles cosplay weapons and props and their safety. So, Doug, what is some overall important things to know about weapons and cosplay props?
Well, the first thing that's really important is you have to understand that no two conventions have the exact same set of rules, whether it be state or federal or local laws that they have to follow, or just their own personal safety concerns. No, most of these conventions will have the information right on their website, so it's very important to check right away, as early as you know what character you're going to do. And many of these conventions also offer contact forms, either through their website email addresses or through their forums that'll help answer questions for props.
Are there any general rules that every convention has?
First and foremost, never bring something that's actually real. It's just a good safety tip. You don't want to actually hurt somebody, and you don't want to be caught carrying something that could potentially be a big safety risk.
Ah!
All right, well, since you showed us a knife to start off with, let's talk about blades and swords, because a lot of characters have huge swords. So what are some no's and do's and don'ts that people should follow?
Well, your first instinct might be to bring the genuine article. Carrying real blades, or what someone referred to as live steel or real steel, can cause just serious safety risks. Your best bet is to find a safer alternative and leave the real stuff at home. I mean, some of the best examples I've seen sometimes are just small plastic swords. I've also seen some people take a realistic looking sword and cut off the blade, just a cheap blade, so it's just the holder in the scabbard.
And what about that other one there?
And then some other people choose to make metallic looking things, such as using foil or paint to make something look more realistic than it is.
Okay. Now what about guns? Guns, a lot of characters carry guns. These can, bystanders might see these and be like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah. Well, especially with guns or other firearms, and many other props, there's a lot of gray areas that aren't sure. The thing is, don't get something that looks too realistic. I mean, here's just plastic, but it still definitely looks very real. And that can definitely cause some safety concerns for people who don't know about the anime convention or what's going on. So the first thing, especially if you're going to be carrying something that looks real, especially a gun, is if anybody stops you to ask, be it a security staffer at the convention or even say a police officer on the street, is don't be respectful. Don't run away. There's been stories of people who've been asked to be stopped by cops, and their first instinct is to run away, and that ends up making more problems than it solves. Some conventions will require you to have just like an orange tip, such as this, so you can clearly visible. So it's definitely obvious that this is just a fake gun, and it's not actually going to hurt someone significantly. Other conventions will say things like, it can't be, it has to look fake, and or it can't even fire a projectile, because even sometimes a projectile can hurt people.
True.
Yeah.
What about things like water guns?
Water guns, even still, play it smart, play it safe. Every weapon prop weapon that you bring in should be brought to the security and checked first. Never assume your prop is going to be okayed. There's always the slight chance that they might say this looks too realistic or something like that.
Okay. What about props made out of wood?
Wood is another gray area where it varies from convention to convention and item to item. Some weapons, such as, say, a staff, this is clearly something that might be construed as perfectly okay. Other things, such as a wooden practice sword like a bokken or a shinai, some conventions, be it the host facility or the convention itself, view that still as a real weapon.
She can still hurt someone.
Exactly. People often say, follow the grandmother rule, which is, if you hit your grandmother with this, is it going to hurt her? So always err on the side of safety, and don't just guess, and have a backup plan. Some people, sometimes they need a baseball bat for their costume and say, okay, I can't have a real wooden bat, so I'll get a plastic one from Walmart, and, wiffle ball bat, it's only a few dollars.
Now, you had already mentioned peace bonding and going to security. What is that all about?
Peace bonding is a term that it varies from convention to convention in its definition. For some conventions, this means possibly locking, say, the sword into the scabbard so it cannot be removed without a great deal of work, say with a zip tie or something. Other conventions will choose to use the term peace bonding they'll take a label such as one of those zip ties or a piece of fabric that just says, it's clear from a distance this prop has been inspected and it is okay. One of the nice things about peace bonding in that sense is many convention staff will put it say on the handle or something, so if you're carrying it, it's obvious that it's a toy or fake, but if you still want to pose, you can still hide it, say, behind your hand or something, so you don't it doesn't ruin the photo shoot.
So if you have a prop that you're bringing into the convention for the first time, the first place you should go is security or wherever else they're
absolutely. And ask convention staffers, where the inspections are. Almost every convention has at least some security checkpoint. Some even have security people staffing the registration area, so you don't even have to waste extra time. They'll inspect the weapon while you're in line. But above all, check the rules and don't assume your prop's going to be approved. One of the best things you can do, though, is don't look at it as a way to hurt your costume. No, these rules are in place for people's safety above all else. Don't view it as a detriment. Think of it as more of a challenge. How can I make something safe but still keep my costume complete and realistic? Many masquerade judges even actually award points and they are very impressed when you find a creative way to still follow the safety guidelines and make a really good prop.
What do you suggest people do with props if they have to go outside the convention space, say, to go get something to eat?
If you leave the convention space, once again, remember that you're going out into the real world and you're no longer in the vacuum of the anime convention. If you're carrying something that looks really realistic, carry a backpack with you, carry a small bag, put the prop out of sight so people don't even get any idea. No one knows you have it. And it's less likely to cause trouble for you or concern other people.
Okay. On next month's podcast, we'll show you how to make props and weapons that will comply with convention weapon rules, as well as what weapons you can buy in stores like costume shops that will work as well. If you have a question for next month's Q&A, send it to podcast@animecons.com.
We're running a contest through January 15th where you can win free admission to A&G Ohio in Cincinnati, Ohio the weekend of March 12th to the 14th. All you have to do is send us an email to contest@animecons.com and you're entered. For full contest details, visit animecons.com/contest. Next month, we'll announce the winner of the contest. Elizabeth will show us how to prepare food in your hotel room. We'll show you how to make props that comply with convention rules, and more. You can subscribe to us on iTunes and become a fan on Facebook. Go post in our forums at forums.animecons.com. You can contact us directly with questions, comments, or complaints at podcast@animecons.com. Also, nominate us for the Streamy Award under Best News or Politics Web Series. You don't need to sign up for anything, and it only takes a few seconds. You can do it once per day. Find a link on the homepage of animecons.com. With your help, we can bring attention to anime conventions.
What's so funny? Las Cruces Anime Day, run by the El Paso Anime Coalition. Las Cruces Anime Day, run by the El Paso Anime. Sorry, I have to burp.
I am watching you on the internets.
I don't like that there's no red light. I can't tell if it's on or not. Well, next month on the podcast, we will show you how to make some fantastic props and weapons that are definitely convention safe. So you can look awesome. We'll show you how to make props and weapons that will probably comply. Not probably. I'm sorry. I didn't mess up. Yay! I think she should leave it.
I think I should leave it. I'll pull it off at the end. Way to hit me in the face, Doug.
You're welcome.
Okay.